think it's really important to recognize when we're feeling defensive and when we are shutting up ideas. If someone's listening to this and they're thinking, oh, they're just saying that, but you don't get it. Like, you don't get it. Maybe you're not getting it.
Maybe
like,
you're just being defensive because it's making you a little uncomfortable.
Exactly.
It happens to me still all the time.
Oh, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
nature.
Costa Rica has made me question just everything. Like, I literally can see, and, like, let me know if, like, we're down to go a little woo-woo or not, but, like, I can literally see, like, when my ego is acting, like, so much clearer, like, so much more clear, and obviously it's a process to...
Like this morning.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's important to... I feel like once you have that ability, it doesn't mean you're not going to act out of your ego, but the awareness I now have of just even, like, little things, like fear. Like, is fear even real? Like, fear. I
think it's biological evolution. If the lion's lurking in the forest, we need to...
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like we have so much unnecessary fear in America. So much unnecessary fear. So much unnecessary fear. And you can look at that through so many lenses. It's what's being talked about when you and some of your friends are going out to eat. You go home and you hear the awful news that happened that day. Me and you had this conversation the other day, like, why do we talk about the awful things that happen? Why? Like,
we were talking about
it's
the Disney
so
movie too.
Mind-blowing. Yes, exactly. Like, why? And I want you to expand upon that, but... And this might make people mad because they're like, oh, like, we all need to, like, grieve together over awful things. But, like, if nobody knew that school shootings were a thing and that was possible... How would it, like,
Right, the frequency would inevitably go down.
It would have to. It would have to. Like, just as you went to Europe and found out that that's the way you're living, so you strove towards that. Like, you get inspired by seeing these things. And just really makes me question, like, the obvious target is the news, because it's just spewing fear. But then, like, think of the culture that exists as well. You watch the news, and then you go and you see a friend, you go, oh, did you hear about this and how this happened?
Yeah.
Like, I remember one time, I hadn't seen one of my friends in a very long time, and I love her, and she's awesome. But she came over, and one of the first things she told me was this awful story. I'm not even going to say it, because I'm not going to spread this story down through the news, but it's just, like, it's really interesting. It's like, why are we speaking this way? And we talked about this before on some content that we made with you at the apartment. Like, if you are anxious a lot or you have a lot of negative thoughts, you might not have a big idea or something you're excited about that's making you think about those things. And in that same sense, like, if you're talking about the sad shit going on in the world all the time, there's not going to be much room in your mental space for creative ideas, for how you can make your life better, for how you can improve, because it's filled with a lot of negative stuff. Like, sometimes I watch a movie or even, like, Squid Games, and, like, the next day I'm like, holy shit, like, that was tough. Like, it has that impact on us. It really does.
You bring up so many good points right there. Like, so many good points. I think the reason that people want to talk about it is, like, I feel like we get a little dopamine. Like, if I tell you, like, yo, bro, like, this beetle down there has been, like, fucking up all the other beetles down there. Like, part of me, like, takes some kind of pleasure in telling you some, like, nasty thing that makes you, oh, damn, really? And make you have a reaction. And I feel like that's just a human thing that we need to overcome. Because,
agree.
like, I want to bring up the Disney movie. What is it, Encanto?
Encanto.
Yeah, Encanto. There's if you haven't seen it and you don't want any spoilers, there's a guy named Bruno, and he's, like, exiled from the community. And they're like, oh, yeah, like, we don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno because, like, some bad shit was around him. And, you know, obviously you want to have a healthy relationship where, like, you really want to hear about Bruno. It's like, okay, let me sit down and, like, have a conversation, right? But if you're at dinner and it's like, oh, like, fucking Bruno or whatever, like, there's a mantra, there's a mindset of, yo, like, we don't talk about Bruno, like, not here, not now. You know what I mean?
It's because he was, like, bad energy.
Right.
Like, bad things happen when Bruno was around, so they don't talk about him because they don't want that energy around.
Right, and it's like, why are we doing that with all these nasty things that are happening? Like, where it's at the dinner table, and it's like, hey, just see, like, this person died, or, like, this person passed away. It's like,
or this person did
like, how about we have, like, a moment of silence for that person? You know, like, hey, I just want to bring this up. Like, let's have a moment of silence for so and so that passed away, or, like, you know, like.
And this is a reminder of how precious life is, and how we should always live each moment with a full heart. Because I'm by no means someone who thinks that we should live in a fairy tale land. Contrast is so integral. But it's too common in our conversations, just the bad things that are going on. Like, why do I need to know the awful crime scene that happened in Kansas. Like, why do I need to know that?
Well, I think Pat brought it up. We were talking about crime rates out here, and you were saying that like part of this, just their exposure to a lot of the crimes that we're used to are just lower. Like, there's not that many major cities out here. There's like San Jose and like Liberia, but in the U.S., think about how many major cities we have, how fast news spreads, how radio, like, dude, I don't think anyone really listens to the radio. I try to listen to the radio out here, like. You can't really get that many stations, and when I did find one, it was music. Like, there weren't that many ads, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like that has just spread so rapidly through the States, whereas out here, and probably a lot of other cultures out there, because I felt the same way in Australia, or New Zealand especially. Like, I never felt in danger in New Zealand. It's one of the lowest crime rates in the world. And I think America can learn a huge lesson from that, from just like blocking off all that shit, especially within your own circle. Someone you care about, like my brother did this one time. I'm sure I've done it to him.
Yeah.
When he just brought up some like nasty. I was like, dude, like, not trying to talk. He's like, dude, you're so right. I don't even know why that's on my mind. You know, like everyone has to be that safeguard for everybody in the circle. To be like, bro, chill. Like, we don't talk about that shit right now.
Yeah. No. Exactly.